ever found out how I got it, which I thought was absolutely amazing. Consider the power of the hospitals at the time and the church, which was the Catholic Church, that was in charge of my human frailty body as a child, because I was in St. Francis Hospital, and it was the Catholics that tended to me, the women that were dressed that way. Now, my aunt worked in that hospital. She, for many years, was the manager over all of housekeeping. Lina Aston, for those of you that are history buffs or in genealogy, ancestry, which many people are, as to how our lives cross our DNA, are those that we come to by agreement or by contract, by the LDS terminology, according to Ascension age, embracing all that comes after the Scientology and the Latter-day Saints and the Catholics and the Jews and the Muslims and all the Masonic lodges, are Rosicrucian, or any esoteric world realities, including Madame Blavatsky's and the Unity Church. There are many different paths that we can choose in using words of wisdom, and not just whether one believes or not in someone else's stories that were left behind. But Joseph Smith is looked at by many, many people trying to disprove those beings that he profited and found out about and wrote the Book of Mormon. And, I have nothing to confirm or deny to anybody about his reality, because I didn't live it. I just studied it and did research on it and historically lived it from 1972 forward. But due to the intelligence community that I was working in as an extraterrestrial life form, knowing of my past lives from the time I was a child, I was sent over to meet some other relatives of mine in which, how does one do this after one has died and saw angels? Other than in my mind's eye, in this reality, even though I didn't know my past lives then, at the age of 7 in the second grade, I was very mature after this. I was different. But I had been taken as a child, about 4 years old, above extraterrestrially. So I had a common bond with a family that had spacecraft, our vehicles not of Earth origin. And at the time, we were never involved with others to have a chance to speak about these things. But when I came of age in the second grade and saw angels with my first out-of-body experience, but now I learned the difference, and that's why I believe I was chosen as an Ascension Prophet, based on all my worldly wisdom in this reality, not just that of past lives or aboard ships, because from the people that I learned from as extraterrestrials in another place in time, it was still on this linear timeline, at least in my mind. So I ask that if each one of you are a mortal being and a part of the all I am, are a spark or lake or tiny snow crystal, there's many ways to say what drop we are in the ocean of the all I am. But we all discuss it, whether it's a monad in the way that we think of as the philosophers back to Aristotle, or for the reason of speaking on the planet, on television and radio, is the fact that we try to keep it as close to all world religions and Christianity because of the location that I presently am involved with on the North American continent and in the United States of America. Now, we'll tell you that after my lifeline shows, what we do is usually when we meet someone, basically you may or may not know that, but they like to know a little about you. So we'll have people coming on this show that will discuss who they are and their story of origin or their path of origin. And that includes their family, where they were born or where they touched down on their time, their birthday, how old they are, how many years on this earth plane they've lived. And each person that involves with another is like serendipity and synchronicity, and each one can find the link or click in, which even at the smallest universal level inside our own guts, our own nervous system, and the way our brains work with dendrites. The thing is that we have messages electronically that they recognize in our nervous system all over our body that we all have in common. So this triggers each of us with a new beginning or a new piece of our own selves. That's why the Ascension age is so important. Unity, universally accepting that we internationally, among friends on the internet, can all become involved, no matter what you call it, whether it's science, philosophy, I don't know what else, religions, church, state, education, filing paperwork because you have to, because that's the way we say that we do things in North America, which benefits the entire rest of the world. Now, empirically speaking, even in China, the first emperor was said to have come and knows this, and it's in his history that he came from the stars extraterrestrially. So they, of course, admire and talk of many deities, including all the terras, the red, blue, green, white, whatever you want to say, and the dragon family, because whether a dragon was, we had dinosaurs and men walked with them. They've proven that even in this reality. So there's a lot of things that we learned in our past that we didn't understand. We just took for granted as a knowledge level base, and we separated the various words into threads or tracks, as we say, that were on CDs. Now they're in MP3, MP4, and PDFs. But we're all learning new languages based on what we're describing as words. So that's the importance of knowing who you are, where you've been, and it's hard to get to the future if you don't know where you've been. And that is an old saying historically, and that's why it hurts and pains so many of us that have lived in these ancient worlds that are still here, seeing Greece. I've had many lives in pyramid building and in Greece, and my family line and who I am in the DNA sequencing, but also the other level, the higher level, which we discussed, the 7 levels of being of who you are. Right now, they're studying the brain in the ocean together. We say we haven't known the depths that's in the ocean because a lot of it with the templates that Mother Earth cleans herself with, and the volcanoes, of course, water, fire, earth, wind are 4 elements in the 4 corners. But the 5th level, our 5th element, and the 5th dimension that we speak of as our essence is in that which pertains essence in each one of us. So our essence is our energy, our vibration, our frequency, and that can be leveled up just like tuning in on a radio or a television. And what I speak is pretty common to most people that I know, leveling up in the levels of rationality, logic, intelligence, science, and philosophy. And some of the greatest theologists know this and have kept the threads of intelligence because of the unity of all life forms on the planet in the empirical design that was designed by those that came from the heavens. Those from the heavens came and set up an empirical way of learning because of the needs to meet humankind on the planet. And yes, we've been advancing and accelerating. Now, one of the groups my husband and I worked with, I'll tell you, in space, the ones that I am allegedly thinking, I'm going to have to put that in a book, because the book I've never told is the story and how I see it from my own mind's eye as an ascension master, working with the ascended masters And many people know that they all lived prior to Elizabeth Clare Prophet, but that group of Elizabeth Clare Prophet and her husband get a lot of claim for books that followed her and her position, and that is a whole place in North America continent. There's also Claire, let me wait on her because McCarty, I met her in, Kentucky, and then this the Love and Light crew with Jim McCarty, Don Elkins, and the channeler. And why am I not remembering her name all of a sudden? Carla. I think it was Carla. And before she was the McCarty, what was Carla? I can't remember now. It's always there, but she was one of the light workers, and she was Episcopalian. And so we still know that these are threads of regardless if we're prophets, sleeping prophets like Edgar Casey, are, do you remember her name? Folks, even in this reality, when I start, we don't have anything scripted. And I'm 69, I'm going to be 70 this year. Richard, do you remember Carla's name on the book, The Law of One? Well, anyway, it was that group, The Raw Material by Ra, an humble messenger of the Law of One. Now, she was a channeler, and I don't know, let me see here. I've got one of her books.
I don't remember her name offhand.
Well, I'm speaking about people that do what Richard and I do, and we channel. Okay, here it is. Don Elkins, Carla L. Ruckert. She was born in 1943, so she was, I was born in 51. She's a few years older. And James McCarty. Now, James McCarty, later on her caregiver and husband, was born 1947 in Kearney, Nebraska. Carla L. Ruckert was born 1943 in Lake Forest, Illinois. Ooh, that is a beautiful I love that. And she had a master's degree, studies in library service. Believe it or not, she served as a librarian and bibliographer in college. And she did study physics, by the way, as we do, maybe not scholastically getting a credit for it, but I happen to know that about her and talked to her for many times before she was dying. So in the late 2000s, late 90s and early 2000s. And then Don Elkins was born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1930. Now, he had 4 degrees. He had taught mechanical engineering at the University of Alaska and physics and engineering at the University of Louisville in 1965. He left as a professor of physics. He had tenured there at the University of Louisville to give himself more time for research. So he pursued all his adult life, basically what Richard and I are doing. And he became a Boeing 727 captain for a major airline in his reality. But he died November 7th, 1984. And I can't confirm or deny that I met him, Carla, or James in this reality, although I did go to Louisville. And there's many things that we are meant to do as individuals, as scribes and channelers. And I'm saying like a channel, in other words, a prophet, sleeping or going into another state of your mind, which is like beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma, and let's see, beta, alpha, theta, delta, gamma. And they say tau 6 because of, I can drop names, but the tau, and then the last 7 of God on high, we haven't given a Greek name. We've been using Sigma, but I don't know why, other than my daughter and I got that through revelation. But she definitely confirmed before she died as extraterrestrial, giving up her life at an early age. She was January 27th, 74, till March, actually, I would say 15th, but that was the day we were at the hospital, but March 16th, because they go by when your heart stops in this reality. So it was March 16th, 2019. Now, she is one of the forefathers of this church, and the reason of the name Ascension Church Ohana, chosen by the ACO, and the way that God meant her and me to be together in this reality is all about these people that could channel extraterrestrially. And she was out, as she said, working